No home, no hope, until he changed everything 3 years ago. I was homeless. Not crashing on a friend's couch, homeless. Not staying with family until I get back on my feet, homeless. I mean real homeless, sleeping behind a gas station with a garbage bag full of everything I owned. It didn't happen overnight. It never does. In 2018, I had a life. A job in construction, decent pay, a little apartment in South Denver. I wasn't rich, but I was okay. I had a beater car that ran if I smacked the dashboard just right. A dog named Max who loved peanut butter, and a girlfriend who put up with my stubborn ass longer than she should. Then everything fell apart. It started with a fall. One stupid fall off a ladder, and suddenly I'm in the ER with a herniated disc and a long-ass note saying no heavy lifting for at least 3 months. No work, no workers' comp, no savings, just bills that didn't stop coming because my back did. I tried to hold on. I sold the car, sold some tools, skipped meals. Max got sick. I tried to act like he'd get better, but deep down, I knew I couldn't afford to help him. When I put him down at a low-cost clinic, I sobbed like a child. I hadn't cried in years, but that day shattered me. After that, my girlfriend left. She said I'd stop trying. Truth was, I didn't even know how to try anymore. By summer 2020, I was 2 months behind on rent. I begged the landlord for time. He gave me a week. I used it to walk around in circles, pretending I had options. One morning, I came back to find my stuff in trash bags by the curb and a new lock on the door. Just like that, I didn't live anywhere anymore. The first few nights, I slept in the park. You think it's gonna be for a night or two, just until you figure something out. But just a few nights turns into weeks. Then months. You learn which gas stations won't call the cops if you sit in the bathroom too long. You learn which dumpsters get tossed late and still have food in them. You learn that people don't see you. Not really. They see a problem, a stain, something to step over. And the thing is, you start believing them. I stopped shaving, stopped caring, stopped speaking unless I absolutely had to. Eventually, stopped thinking of myself as a person with a future. Some nights I drank just to quiet the noise in my head. Other nights I stayed sober and wished I hadn't. There were times I looked at the highway and thought about walking into it, not because I wanted to die. I just didn't want to keep living like this. Then came Curtis. He showed up one afternoon near Civic Center Park, handing out peanut butter sandwiches and bottled water. I usually avoided church people. They meant well, but looked at you like a stray they were trying to rescue. Curtis didn't do that. He handed me a sandwich, nodded, and said, "You good man." That question hit harder than anything I'd heard in a long time. Nobody asked if I was good. Nobody talked to me like I mattered. HTKT 11 lay by, nodded, even though I wasn't. The next Thursday, he was back. This time, he sat next to me on the curb. We didn't talk about God or life choices, just football, the weather, best gas stations in town. Simple stuff, and he kept showing up. Then, one day, he said, "You ever get tired of surviving?" I stared at him. "Is there another option?" He smiled. "Yeah, man. It's called living." That stuck with me, not in a cheesy, motivational, poster kind of way, but like, maybe there was more than just waiting to die quietly. Curtis didn't save me. He didn't offer a job or a place to stay, but he gave me something I hadn't felt in a long time, seen, heard, human, and weirdly, that made it harder to give up. I wasn't ready to turn my life around. Hell, I didn't even know where to start. But for the first time in a long time, I wanted tomorrow to come, not because it promised anything, but because maybe, just maybe, wasn't completely finished yet. After that conversation with Curtis, you ever get tired of surviving? Something shifted in me. It wasn't dramatic. I didn't wake up the next day with a new outlook or a perfect plan, but a seed got planted. For the first time in years, I started thinking, maybe I could do something other than just exist. The next few weeks were still rough. I still slept behind the gas station most nights, still hustled for meals, still wore the same beat-up hoodie that smelled like defeat. But I started paying attention. I started noticing flyers on lampposts, job fairs, free clinics, GED classes. I asked Curtis about them. Day shelter downtown that had computers and a guy who helped people apply for work. I didn't believe anyone would hire me. I had no address, no phone, clean clothes. But I went anyway. They had coffee. That alone felt like a miracle. The staff didn't treat me like trash. One of the volunteers, a woman named Tasha, sat with me for almost 2 hours, helping me build a resume from scratch. She didn't flinch when I said I hadn't had a job in nearly 2 years. She just said, "Let's start with what you have done, not what you haven't." That line stuck with me. Over the next month, I kept going back. I used their showers. I used their computers. I signed up for a work program that offered part-time gigs to people in tough spots, cleanup crews, warehouse shifts, kitchen prep, hard work, low pay. But it was something. The first time I got a check, $132.76, I nearly cried. Not because of the money, but because someone had paid me for showing up, for working, for not giving up. That's what I held on to. I saved every penny I could. I stopped drinking completely. I found a church that let me sleep in the basement. On cold nights, I bought a prepaid flip phone for $15. I didn't tell anyone, but I started keeping a list in my notebook titled Tiny Wins. Things like made it to work on time didn't, curse out a supervisor, on a new pair of socks didn't, give up. Today sounds small, but when you've lived at the bottom, tiny wins feel like gold. A few months in, Curtis pulled me aside. He said there was a guy he knew ran a small cleaning business who needed help. It wasn't glamorous. It was vacuuming offices at night and scrubbing toilets. But it paid steady under the table for now. And the guy was willing to give me a chance. I said yes before he even finished the sentence. I busted my ass, showed up early, stayed late, cleaned like my life depended on it, because, honestly, it kind of did after 2 weeks. The guy gave me a key and said, "You're the only one I trust not to cut corners." No one had said something like that to me in years. 6 months later, I was running 3 buildings on my own. I got bumped to official payroll, HTKT Part 2. I moved into a shared room in a halfway house. Nothing fancy, just 4 walls, a door that locked, and a mattress that didn't rest on concrete. I cried the first night I slept there. Not because I was sad, but because I wasn't cold. Here's what people don't get about turning your life around. It's not one big decision. It's not one miracle. It's 1,000 tiny choices you make when no one's watching, to keep showing up, to not give up, to believe that maybe your life doesn't have to stay broken. I still didn't have it all figured out, but I had something I hadn't felt in years: momentum. And momentum is powerful. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's how people, like me, people who once had nothing, start to build something real. By the end of that first year off the street, I wasn't the same man anymore. I still looked rough, patchy beard, calloused hands, shoes I'd duct taped twice, but something in me had shifted. I carried myself different, a little taller, a little prouder. Because for once, I wasn't just trying to survive another day. I was building something. I had a steady job, cleaning offices 6 nights a week. My boss, Ray, was one of those old school types, ex-Navy, straight talker. No time for excuses, but he respected hustle, and he saw mine. After a few months, he let me train new hires, gave me a raise, trusted me with keys to 5 different buildings. You don't realize how much that matters. Being trusted. When you've spent years feeling like the world sees you as disposable. Something as small as a set of keys feels like a crown. But even then, life wasn't easy. Just possible. I was living in a transitional house with 5 other guys. Some were ex-cons, some were addicts, some were just unlucky like me. We didn't talk much, just shared a fridge and took turns on laundry. But I kept my head down, kept saving every dollar I could, every morning. After my night shift, I'd hit the free Wi-Fi outside the public library. I didn't have a laptop, so I used my phone, the same $15 flip phone Curtis helped me buy, to look up side gigs, window washing, furniture assembly, Craigslist labor jobs. Some gigs paid $20. Some paid nothing at all because the person vanished after the work. But every job I finished felt like one more brick in the foundation of the life I was trying to rebuild. And somewhere along the line, an idea started forming in my head. It wasn't fancy, wasn't world-changing, just a quiet thought that kept popping up. Why not me? Why couldn't I start my own little cleaning gig? I already knew the work. I already knew how to be dependable. I already knew how to clean better than most people. Cared to dot. At first, I pushed the thought away. I mean, come on me, a business. I had no credit, no degree, no family to back me, no safety net. But the thought kept knocking, softly, patiently. Every morning when I was most tired and most honest with myself. So I started small. I bought a cheap set of business cards online. They just said, James, cleaning services, reliable, honest, affordable. Phone number, no address. I handed them out at barbershops, mom-and-pop stores, daycares, any place that looked like they might need a hand and couldn't afford the big commercial outfits. I offered trial cleanings for half price. Some said no, some didn't answer. But one little yoga studio said yes. They needed the space cleaned twice a week before classes started. $75 a pop. That first invoice I sent them. I printed it from the library. I swear I stared at it for an hour before hitting send. It felt like I was walking on water. From there, word spread, slowly, but it did. A chiropractor called. Then a small bakery. Then a dentist's office. Within 6 months, I had 4 regular clients and enough income to leave the transitional house. I moved into a tiny studio apartment. Nothing but a hot plate, a mattress, and a leaky faucet. But it was mine. I slept on the floor that first night, just staring at the ceiling. Not because I didn't have a bed, but because I didn't want to miss a single second of how it felt to be there, alone, safe, home. The business wasn't fancy, and I didn't pretend it was. I had no uniform, no website, no logo, just a mop, a bucket, and a promise. I'd show up, I'd do the job right, and I'd never leave a mess behind. Clients liked that. They liked me because I was hungry, respectful, and real. I wasn't a polished sales guy trying to impress. I was a man who had seen hell and clawed his way out, and people feel that even if you don't say it out loud by my second year. I had enough work to bring on help. I called Devin, a guy I met back at the shelter who'd always been solid. I offered him 3 nights a week. Then I brought on Alicia, a single mom who'd lost her job during the pandemic. I didn't have a fancy office or a break room or a company cars, but I paid them fairly, treated them with respect, and told them the truth. This business saved my life. I hope it helps yours too. We called it Second Chance Cleaning. Simple, honest, just like us. One afternoon, I was driving to a job site in a used van. I bought cash after a year of saving, and I stopped at a red light. Across the street, I saw someone sitting on the curb, wrapped in a blanket, head down, holding a sign that said, "Anything helps. God bless." I pulled over, got out, walked over. He looked up at me. He couldn't have been older than 30. Tired eyes, dirty jeans, familiar kind of hopelessness. I handed him a sandwich and a water bottle from the van. Didn't preach, didn't pity. Just said, "You good, man?" He nodded, barely, trying. I sat next to him for a minute, told him my name, told him I was here not long ago, told him there's a shelter 2 blocks away with showers and help if you want it. He didn't say much, but he looked at me like he believed me. That was enough. When I drove away, I didn't feel like a hero. I just felt human again, because when you've been invisible for long enough, you know exactly what it means to be seen. Later that year, I gave Curtis a ride to a volunteer event. He still handed out sandwiches every Thursday, rain or shine. Still showed up for people who didn't believe they deserved help. When I pulled up in my van with a Second Chance Cleaning logo on the side, he just smiled. "Look at you," he said. "Didn't I tell you, living's better than surviving?" Laughed. Took me a while to figure that out. Long time. Let me say this clearly, in case someone out there needs to hear it. I didn't get here because I'm special. I didn't have a magic moment. I wasn't discovered. No one handed me anything. I got here because I kept waking up, kept showing up, kept failing and trying again. I got here because a stranger gave me a sandwich and sat next to me on the curb instead of walking past. I got here because of tiny wins stacked day after day, week after week, until one day I looked up and realized I'd built a life. It's not perfect. I still worry about bills, still fight old demons, still keep that notebook where I write down my wins. But now, the list is longer. And now, when people ask what I do, I get to say, I run my own company. That's a sentence I never thought I'd say out loud. But damn, it feels good every time I do. Some people think success is a finish line, like once you cross it, you're done. You won. You made it. But that's not how I see it. To me, success just means you've made it far enough to reach back and help someone else climb. That's what this last chapter of my journey has been about. A few months after my second year in business, I started getting more calls than I could handle. Offices, small shops, even a few real estate firms wanting quick turnarounds before open houses. It would have been easy to post an ad online and hire whoever showed up with a resume. But I kept thinking about the guys I'd shared beds with at the shelter, the women who stood in line at the food bank, the faces I saw every time I drove past the blocks I used to sleep on. People who didn't just need a paycheck. They needed a shot, so that's what I decided to give. I went back to that day's shelter downtown, sat down with one of the coordinators and said, if you've got people looking for work, people who are trying, send them my way. She blinked. You serious? Yeah, I said, but just give me the ones who want it. The ones who show up even if their shoes are falling apart. The next week, she sent me Lamar. Lamar had been homeless for nearly a year after losing his job and his apartment during the pandemic. He came in wearing 3 layers of clothes and a look in his eye I recognized instantly, guarded hope. That kind of I've been disappointed before look. I gave him 1 shift, 1 mop, 1 shot. He killed it, cleaned like his life depended on it, because it did. I knew that feeling better than anyone. Now he's full-time, runs the weekend crew, and trains new hires. Since then, I've hired 8 more people just like him, men and women who most employers won't even consider because they've got gaps in their resumes, or they live in shelters, or they don't have references. But here's what I've learned. People who've had nothing value everything. You give them work, and they give you heart. You give them trust, and they give you respect. Sure, some didn't last. Some weren't ready. That's real. But most just needed a reason to believe they still mattered. And a boss who wouldn't look at them like a problem. We don't have a fancy office. Our break room is the back of a van and a cooler full of Gatorade. But we show up. We get the job done. and we do it right. And now, every Thursday, just like Curtis used to do, we hand out sandwiches downtown. It started small. I'd make them myself and drop off 10 or 15. Then Lamar jumped in. Then Alicia. Now, it's a whole team effort. We don't preach. We don't take photos. We just hand someone a sandwich, look them in the eye, and ask, "You good?" Sometimes they nod. Sometimes they cry. Sometimes they just say, "Thanks." And that's enough. A few months ago, I got invited to speak at a local high school, part of a career day program. Me, the guy who used to shower with a garden hose behind a Walgreens. I almost said no. Public speaking makes my stomach twist. But I thought, what if there's one kid in that room who's already losing hope? So I went, wore the one clean button-up I owned, told my story, no sugarcoating, no heroic music playing in the background. Just the truth, I said. You're going to fall. Life is going to hit you hard. But don't ever let anyone tell you that where you are now is where you're stuck forever. Afterward, a kid came up to me, said his mom had just lost her job, said he didn't believe in second chances until now. I think about that kid a lot. I still keep my old notebook, the one where I used to write tiny wins. Only now, the entries look different. First team meeting with 5 employees helped. Devin get a driver's license, got insurance for the business, didn't miss rent. 30 months straight bought. My first couch gave someone their first chance. Every now and then, when I'm alone at night, usually after a long shift, when my back aches and my feet hurt, I sit on that couch, flip through the notebook, and remember what it took to get here. And I whisper to myself, still not giving up. This isn't the end of my story. Not even close. There are still challenges, still months when work slows down, still moments when the old doubts try to creep in. But now I know how to fight them, because now I know what I'm made of. And if you're reading this, maybe you're stuck. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're thinking you've wasted too many years. You are not done. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not invisible. Maybe your rock bottom is where your rebuild starts. Maybe tomorrow isn't just another day. Maybe it's day one. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to wake up, show up, and not give up. That's what I did. And if I can do it, so can you.